Hey, LaCheryl, how you doing? Thank you so much for resubmitting here. This is much better. I want to talk about this composition in 1 second. Um, Let me just resize that so we can get it in the window. Okay, I can even make that just a little bit. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, we'll talk about this in 1 second. I want to address your writing, though. I took away the and created something completely different, actually. My main question here, LaCheryl, is did my comments make sense to you? Specifically the comments on the narrative quality of the composite work. And this is all working towards the effectiveness of the cinematic poster in that the cinematic poster really should tell a story, and that story, of course, is closely related with your plot and the conceptual development that you had developed through the word association assignment. So I just want to make that connection specifically clear in the narrative quality and why we're shooting for a narrative quality in this particular assignment. Now, listen, there's a lot of digital imaging classes, and I've been teaching digital imaging for many, many years. There's a lot of digital imaging classes that just go straight to composite. Let's composite some images without the consideration of the narrative quality. And I think this is a superior approach because it's training students to think about their decisions, to think about the images that they're compositing together as opposed to just randomly compositing images together. Now, either way, you're going to learn the techniques, right? But adding this additional narrative quality is really enhances the assignment, I think, exponentially, because you're thinking about two different things. You're thinking about execution as well as concept development and the delivery of the narrative. And I think that's really important, especially as it points to this being a preparatory exercise towards the cinematic poster, right? So my main question here is, did my comments make sense to you? I hope at least the images choose are like this all makes good sense. Let's go ahead and take a look at. It looks like an angle a certain way, and playing around with to figure out this. So this still has to. Wait, I get back and used. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the composition itself. Now, this is superior. This is telling a story, and I want to tell you something. All right, let's take a look at this. Now, let's remove the sign completely. Right, we take the sign out. Does the story change? You better believe it does. I mean, it changes incredibly. We go from this kind of U.S. Navy explosive ordnance disposal detachment. So as soon as we decipher that sign, the mind starts going, okay, what does this have to do with this building? What does this have to do with this individual? What does this individual have to do with this building? And what's the connection between all three? So you're picking the viewer's curiosity, and that is effective and that's interesting. It doesn't. The narrative doesn't have to be specifically clear as long as it does pick the viewer's curiosity. So think of the movie poster. Does the movie poster have to tell the whole story of the movie? Heck no, man, it doesn't. It just has to show enough to develop a narrative, enough that the viewer is going to be interested in finding out more about that narrative, about that story. So I think this is excellent. And every mark on the page here is good. Like for example, the posture and the direction that she's looking is definitely has to do with the narrative. Okay, she's very relaxed, very comfortable, big smile, looking away from the sign, looking away from the building. So again, that adds to the narrative quality of the composition. Now, in terms of execution, I think we're looking pretty good here. One thing you've done very smart is you've preserved the light source from the background image in this image right here. And we can see that the light source from the background image is clearly somewhere right above. So I would guess this is taken right around the noontime, give or take an hour, right? And we see that because there are no cast shadows. So sun is directly overhead, right? And we can see that here too, where the sun is reflecting on the shoulders. It's not casting any shadows on the rest of the body. So assuming that that image was also shot at or near sometime around noon, where the shadow is the shortest. Okay, as far as the sign goes, there's one thing I'm just a little bit funny about the sign, and that's this perspective line right here. Okay, it doesn't match up with this perspective line here. So this kind of looks askew. Now I know that the sign isn't laying on the fence like this, But laying it on the fence like that, it would take on the attributes of the perspective of the background image, not the perspective of the sign. Do you see what I'm saying? So what I would recommend here is using your perspective warp tools and just kind of try to straighten that out a little bit. The lines will converge, but right now they're not even perspective lines, as this one is just at a much greater angle, and this one is at a much more less dramatic angle. So let's straighten that out a little bit using that perspective warp tool, and I think you're good to go. Selections look good. Everything else looks fantastic. All right, great job. Thanks so much for reposting and including your written rationale. And again, let me know if my original set of comments make sense, and that's regarding the narrative quality and why we're shooting for a narrative quality in preparation for the cinematic poster, and why you think it, excuse me, or why is it advantageous to work on composite techniques with narrative in mind. Okay? All right, LaCheryl, great. Thank you very much.